Welcome to Santa Clarita Weekly, where we cover all things local in Santa Clarita Valley every Saturday morning at 9 on KQRU 107.9. Join hosts Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty as they uncover the latest news, events, sports highlights, and more, keeping you connected and engaged with what matters most in our hometown.
Welcome back for another edition of Santa Clarita Weekly with Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty. I'm Sage. He's Tim. You can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. We're also in TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and you can find us online at santaclaritastar.com. There was a forum by the College of the Canyons and the NAACP for City Council, and there was a bipartisan press conference about the Chiquita Canyon Landfill, hosted by both Congressman Mike Garcia's office and Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo. In sports, the Hart football team won its seventh game in a row and stayed undefeated in the Foothill League. The Valencia Foothill football team won its third game in a row and improved to 3-0 in the Foothill League. The Castaic football team won its first Foothill League game in the of the season, surprising a surging West Ranch team. The Dodgers shut out the San Diego Padres to win Game 5 of the National League Division Series and face the New York Mets in the National League Championship Series. The Rams were on a much-needed bye and are awaiting updates on their two-star wide receivers, Kupp and Puka Nacua, who have missed most of the season with injuries. The Kings started the season on a winning note against the Sabres in Buffalo, but lost a tight game against the Bruins in Boston in their second game of the season. So let's talk about the City Council Forum. So the College of the Canyons and the NAACP hosted a City Council Forum, and this is the first time, the first year, election cycle, rather, that Santa Clarita has had district elections. So there are three candidates vying for the Santa Clarita City Council District 1, Tim Burkhart, who is a former builder, Patsy Ayala, a former staffer for State Senator Scott Wilk, and Assemblywoman Suzette Valadares, and Bryce Jepson, a nonprofit board member of the LGBTQ Center here in Santa Clarita. So let's listen to clips from each of these candidates at the forum.
In one sentence, please describe what you believe is the most important responsibility of a city council member.
Very simple question for me. It boils down to just a couple of things. But that one sentence is a city council member is responsible for setting a strategic vision and holding accountable the management of the city towards that vision and making sure that it fits within the guidelines that were authorized to operate in the city.
Is it on? Yeah. Well, first I want to thank College of the Canyons and NAACP for the invitation and for their hospitality today. And for me, as City Council member, since it's the representative of the primary legislative body of the city, it's a responsibility for a City Council member to make laws, city laws, ordinances, and policies, and also represent the citizens of Santa Clarita.
That's okay. Okay, is it on? Mm-hmm. I can yell too if that's needed. Okay, so for me personally, what I believe is the most important responsibility for a city council person or member is just, at the end of the day, to ensure the safety and well-being of all the city citizens. And that's it, period. We don't play politics. We don't do any of it. We don't cut a party line. Our job is people over politics, and that is our greatest responsibility.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, so let's talk about the bipartisan press conference at Chiquita on the Chiquita Canyon Landfill. So there was a bipartisan press conference on Tuesday, October 15th, featuring the office of Congressman Mike Garcia and Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo. residents and community leaders gathered to talk about the Chiquita Canyon Landfill disaster and the effects it is having on the surrounding community. And what makes this press conference different is that both Mike Garcia's office and George Whitesides, the Democrat running against Garcia, attended the press conference in solidarity. At the press conference, both Governor Gavin Newsom and Supervisor Catherine Barger were called out. Barger was a key person who fought to expand the landfill. Assemblywoman Schiavo actually stayed at the home of one of the residents who was affected by the landfill. Let's listen to Pilar Schiavo's comments at the press conference.
Good morning. I want to welcome the media. Thank you for being here today. I want to especially thank our community and community supporters who have come today to support a community that is truly suffering as a result of the essentially fire burning in the Chiquita Canyon landfill. We are here today to make one thing abundantly clear, that the people of Valverde, Castaic, and Santa Clarita need help. And Los Angeles County and the state and the federal government must do more, and they must declare a state of emergency and bring immediately relief to the community. Every night and well into the morning, toxic fumes full of cancer-causing chemicals, such as benzene and other harmful gases like hydrogen sulfide and methane, are descending on the community. Looking at satellite imagery, I don't see any methane emitter that comes close to what Chiquita Canyon Landfill is producing in all of LA County. Today, in an effort to ensure that no one with the power to help is able to turn away and go about their days as if this isn't a crisis, we want you to hear directly from residents about their health struggles. To better understand what our community is experiencing, I took Jennifer and her family up on their offer for me to stay at their home, where we found a cancer cluster on their street, which borders the landfill. Today, I'm releasing a video that is a video diary documenting my experience on October 1st when I spent the night. And it was just one night. It was literally 12 hours, 7:30 at night to 7:30 in the morning. And Jennifer and her husband and three young children were nice enough to host me. Within a half hour of being inside their home with windows and doors closed, I had a headache and burning eyes. And as the night progressed, I continued to get more of the symptoms that I've been hearing from neighbors. My throat started to burn and was scratchy. My eyes were burning so much I just wanted to keep them closed. And at one point, my face got red, like there was a skin reaction happening, and it was hot to the touch, and you can see it a little bit even in the video. And in the morning when I was getting ready, doing my morning routine, I blew my nose and it started bleeding. I haven't had a nosebleed and I can't even remember when. So something that people in LA are not experiencing in their normal day-to-day lives, but people in this community are experiencing every single day. All of this after being outside for 10 minutes max, and then leaving the screen door. I stayed on their travel trailer, leaving the screen door open for about an hour. So maybe an hour of moderate exposure to the air. And in the morning when we dropped off the kids at the school, which is right here in the distance, and has some of the worst air quality in the region, I started to have a tight chest and feel like I needed to take a big breath of air to get more air. Residents have endured this and far worse for over a year. And even worse, on Jennifer's street, of about 14 houses closest to the landfill, 7 people have cancer, with 4 neighbors being diagnosed just within the last year. Neighbors are...
Tammy Stevens from Congressman Garcia's office also made a statement.
I am going to read a prepared statement from the Congressman, but I did want to let you know if there's any follow-up questions, you may reach out to Lexi Kranich in our DC office at lexi, Lexi, .kranich, Kranich, at mail.house.gov. As a resident of this valley, Congressman Garcia has been fighting for the residents affected by this environmental disaster since day one, working to get them the relief they desperately need and deserve. In February, he welcomed the EPA's involvement in the emergency response at the landfill and was among the first elected officials to call for the landfill's closure, with the exception of local trash collection. By March, he led a bipartisan letter with Assemblywoman Schiavo and other federal and state representatives urging Governor Newsom to declare a state of emergency. Throughout this crisis, he has consistently met with affected residents and called for an investigation to hold those who are responsible accountable. In Washington, he worked with federal agencies to secure overhead monitoring assets to assist with the emergency response, as well as introduce the Chiquita Canyon Tax Relief Act to make relief payments and legal settlements tax exempt for residents. This would apply to all past, present, and future payments. When the opportunity arose to join Assemblywoman Schiavo in sending another letter to the governor for a state of emergency, he seized it immediately. Congressman Garcia is grateful for the Assemblywoman's partnership and remains committed to working in a bipartisan manner to resolve this issue for the residents. He is again calling on the county to also support a declaration of a state of emergency. There is no downside to it. It will make more resources available at all levels of government, and our community deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Susie Evans, who is a resident, shared her story about how she was affected by the landfill.
Hi, I'm Susie Evans. I've lived in Val Verde for about 23 years. I moved my current home in Val Verde about 12 years ago. It's 500 feet from the dump. I was aware of the promise of closure, just like Jennifer and everybody else back here. I became involved in the fight to stop LA County from expanding the dump in 2017. All those toxins that Jennifer mentioned didn't matter. They expanded it. When Aliso Canyon blew methane through Porter Ranch, they were given a state of emergency in just over 3 months. Can someone tell me why the toxins spewing out of Chiquita are not more toxic than methane alone? I believe Barger campaigned to be reelected to the office of she's in now, using the dump as something she would resolve. Obviously, she has not done that. She promised us new windows and doors and central AC for those who have swamp coolers. Within months of that statement on television, she reneged on the promise and said the dump is responsible, make them pay. I'm not helping you any further. She said that nothing will help us more than what we're getting now. I honestly don't want the dump's money. It's taxable, will probably make me homeless because I am on a fixed income. I am obviously a little problem there. I'm disabled. And I fear that I'm going to die long before this is resolved. And that's not fair to anybody to die knowing that the dump is still actively killing us.
It's not fair. We need clean air. It's not fair. We need clean air. It's not fair. We need clean air.
So Lynn Planbeck, who is the head of Scope and who runs KQRU, also spoke at the press conference.
Santa Clarita Organization for Planning and the Environment. We were standing by this community in 1998 when they made a deal with the landfill saying it would be closed in 20 years. And then, just like what the government did to the Native Americans in our community, the county reneged and they expanded this landfill in spite of a lot of this information being in the environmental impact report. They disclosed a cancer cluster. They disclosed that they took air monitoring readings from Reseda and Newhall instead of next to the landfill. They wouldn't put any monitoring in because they knew there was a problem then. Now we're 7 years, 8 years later, and we have all these problems still. And it's because the county didn't do its job.
You're listening to KQRU 107.9 FM in Santa Clarita. You can listen to Santa Clarita Weekly on Saturday mornings at 9 and on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you listen to podcasts. So I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Tim Haddock, who is going to be talking about local sports. Tim?
Okay, so this was a rivalry week in the Foothill League. Hart and Canyon played against each other, and this rivalry goes back years and years and years, back to when Canyon first became a high school and started playing football. So the Hart football team won its 7th game in a row and improved to 4-0 in the Foothill League with a 61-40 win over Canyon. Running back Zach Ragozic scored 7 touchdowns, rushed for 197 yards, caught 3 passes for 122 yards, and led the charge for Hart. Nate Matta started at quarterback for Hart. Starting quarterback Jacob Paisano missed his 2nd game in a row with an injured shoulder. Both Matta and receiver Parker Maxwell returned from injuries. They both left the game against West Ranch 2 weeks ago with injuries. Matta threw 2 touchdown passes and passed for 244 yards. Maxwell caught 6 passes for 96 yards and scored a touchdown, but Ragozic stole the show. He scored 6 rushing touchdowns and caught a touchdown pass. He had 319 total yards from scrimmage. He even scored on a 2-point conversion. The game was close in the first half. It was tied 7-7 after the first quarter, and Hart led 22-21 at halftime. Hart scored 13 points in the third quarter to start to pull away, and the Hawks outscored Canyon 39-19 in the second half. The two teams combined for 101 points. Hart plays Valencia next in a matchup of the only undefeated teams left in the Foothill League. Canyon at 1-3, and the Foothill League has a bye. Valencia rolled over Golden Valley. Valencia running back Brian Bonner scored 5 touchdowns and paced his team to a 56-28 win over Golden Valley. Valencia won its 3rd game in a row and improved to 3-0 in the Foothill League. Golden Valley dropped to 1-2 in the Foothill League. Bonner scored 4 touchdowns in the first half and rushed for 83 yards. He caught 3 passes for 47 yards and caught a touchdown pass. Valencia scored 3 touchdowns and 20. Let me start that over again. That paragraph over. Valencia scored 3 touchdowns and 21 points in the second quarter to take a 35-21 lead at halftime. The Vikings outscored Golden Valley 21-7 in the second half. Valencia quarterback Brady Bredhauer threw 3 touchdown passes and passed for 222 yards. Receiver Nick Seymour caught 2 of those touchdown passes and finished the game with 6 catches for 91 yards. Golden Valley's Jamison Torres scored 2 touchdowns and rushed for 125 yards. And quarterback Brandon Contreras threw 2 touchdown passes and passed for 232 yards. Anthony Saragusa caught 7 passes for 119 yards and scored a touchdown for Golden Valley. Golden Valley plays West Ranch next. Castaic won its first Foothill League game, surprising West Ranch. Castaic quarterback Kanai Langford threw 3 touchdown passes. Running back Monty Coleman scored 2 touchdowns, and Castaic won its first Foothill League game, 42-28 over West Ranch. Castaic snapped its 3-game losing streak, all the Foothill League teams, and improved to 1-3 in the Foothill League. West Ranch dropped to 1-2 in the Foothill League. In addition to throwing 3 touchdown passes, Langford added a rushing touchdown. Coleman rushed for 182 yards and caught 3 passes for 23 yards, giving him 205 total yards from scrimmage. He scored a rushing touchdown and caught a touchdown pass. Castaic will try to make it 2 wins in a row against Saugus next. Saugus is coming off a bye and is 1-2 in the Foothill League. The Rams are preparing for a game against the Las Vegas Raiders. The start to the Rams season has been rough. They have won only 1 game and had to come back to beat the 49ers on a last-second field goal to win that one. They were blown up by the Arizona Cardinals, lost 4 of their first 5 games, and lost their 2 best receivers to injuries. The Rams needed a bye to regroup and recuperate. Cooper Kupp looks like he is ready to return to practice. He has been out for 3 games with an ankle injury. Rams coach Sean McVay said Kupp will work out leading up to the game against the Raiders. They are taking it day by day with Kupp to see if he'll be ready and healthy enough to play in the game. The news is not as good for Puka Nacua. He will need more time to recover from a knee injury he suffered in the first game of the season. It will be a couple more weeks before he is ready to return to practice and be game ready. Another player who needs more time to recover from injury is center Steve Avila. He has been out for 3 weeks and is not ready to practice just yet. He's close, but he'll sit out at least one more week and will be ready and will not be ready for the Raiders game.
All right, good. All right, so let's talk about Major League Baseball. And the Dodgers won games 4 and 5 in the National League Division Series and eliminated the San Diego Padres, which I was sure they would do. Tim was not so sure. So he wasn't so sure about that. Thought it looked bleak. But the Dodgers were down in the 5-game series, 2-1, and shut out the Padres in the final 2 games of the series. The Dodgers won game 4, 8-0, and held the Padres scoreless for 16 innings over games 3 and 4. In the decisive game 5 at Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers shut out the Padres again 2-0. So Kiki Hernandez and Teoscar Hernandez hit solo home runs, and the Dodgers pitching staff extended their streak of shutout innings to 25. So the Dodgers pitching staff didn't stop tossing shutout innings when the National League Championship Series started against the New York Mets. In game 1 of the National League Championship Series at Dodger Stadium, starter Jack Flaherty pitched 7 shutout innings, and the Dodgers won 9-0. The Dodgers put together 3 shutouts in a row and had a streak of 33 shutout innings, tying the Major League playoff record set by the 1966 Baltimore Orioles. Those Orioles shut out the Dodgers 3 times in the World Series. But the shutout streak came to an end in game 2 against the Mets. Francisco Lindor hit a leadoff home run in the first inning, and the Mets won the game 7-3. The series is tied 1-1 and heads to New York for games 3, 4, and 5. So, Tim, what was the significance of the Dodgers' 33-inning shutout streak?
Yeah, it's like the if anything, the weakness of the Dodgers was its pitching staff coming into the playoffs. The Dodgers had basically 2 healthy starters, and they were planning on having bullpen games where they were going to start relievers and bring in just a parade of relief pitchers in a game against the Padres. In game 4 against the Padres, it was actually the strategy. And that plan, that lack of healthy pitching was supposed to hurt the Dodgers. And as it turns out, the pitchers, the pitching staff that the Dodgers have right now has been incredible. I mean, they did not give up a run for 3 games. And then that hasn't happened with 1966. That's almost 60 years ago, the last time something like this happened. And so to see the Dodger pitching staff, the Dodger pitchers come up with such a great performance, especially at crucial times in the playoffs, in a game 5 of the playoffs, a decisive game 5, that was fun to watch. That was not expected. And to keep it going into the National League Championship Series, to shut out the Mets again, to throw up another shutout, to have 3 in a row, that was unexpected as well. So the Dodgers pitching staff has been playing above and beyond what anybody expected. And if this is the way that the Dodgers pitching staff is going to be in the playoffs, they're going to be hard to beat for the rest of the way.
So some of their I know they've had a lot of injuries with the pitching staff, but it seems like it's even the people in reserve, right? There are people that are coming up to pitch, or there's some stars there that we didn't know about before, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of unexpected pitchers who are stepping up. They have a couple of rookies in that bullpen that came up with some big outs, put up some big innings for the Dodgers in the playoffs against the Padres and Mets. And yeah, it's been surprising. It's been surprising that the pitching staff has done so well in big games this late in the season.
So how do you think the Dodgers are going to do against the Mets? Are the Dodgers making it to the World Series?
Yeah, let's see if they can make it past the Mets. I don't want to get too far ahead. I would love to see the Dodgers in the World Series, and a lot of a lot of baseball experts, a lot of baseball people are predicting the Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series, the New York Yankees. But yeah, let's see if the Dodgers can keep up this hot pitching streak, this hot streak against the Mets, because the Mets are a good team. The Mets were probably the hottest team coming into the playoffs, and they are not going to be an easy team to eliminate.
All right, so I'm going to switch sports here from baseball to hockey. We're going to talk about the NHL. So the Kings started the season on a winning note, but lost their next 2 games in overtime on the road. Anze Kopitar scored a hat trick, scoring all 3 goals in the third period in a 3-1 win over the Sabres of Buffalo in the Kings' first game. The next 2 games didn't end quite the same way. The Kings lost to the Boston Bruins 2-1 in overtime in their second game. Trevor Moore scored the lone goal for the Kings against the Bruins. The Kings lost again in overtime to the Ottawa Senators 8-7. Kings led 2-1 after the first period and led 4-2 in the second period. But the Senators stormed back to tie the score 5-5 after 2 periods and won the game in overtime. So the Kings are on the road for 4 more games before their home opener on October 24th against the San Jose Sharks. The Kings play the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Anaheim Ducks in their next 3 games. So, Tim, do you have any predictions for the Kings?
Oh, this road trip is rough. I mean, this is a tough way to start the season. So I'm hoping they can win a couple more games and at least come out of this early season road trip with 3 or 4 wins before they come home for their home opener at the end of the month.
All right. So that's our show. So tune in next week for more discussions about the news from Santa Clarita. You can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM at 9 on Saturday mornings. You can also watch us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and listen to us on SantaClaritaStar.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. So leave us a comment and be sure to subscribe to Santa Clarita Weekly online. So thanks for listening and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Santa Clarita Weekly. You can watch the show on Santa Clarita Star's YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as listen in on the radio at KQRU 107.9. Visit SantaClaritaStar.com for more content and tune in right here to KQRU 107.9. A new voice for Santa Clarita.